Hi everyone, this is Olivia from the Alexandrienne channel, and today we're going to create a dragonfly with dangles. I've put up an actual image just for a brief moment so you have a reference point. Now the dragonfly that we are going to do is simplified and stylized. That way it'll be pretty fast to create and still look awesome. Okay, if you're ready, let's get started. On this first step, we are going to draw the head, which is simply a circle. It doesn't really matter if it's a little oblong in any way, but just your basic circle. And while you're drawing that, I would like to ask you, if you like this video, to please give it a thumbs up. And I would love it if you would subscribe and click the bell notification to be notified of new videos that I post. It would help a lot. Thank you. Okay, if you have your circle, let's go on. Now we are going to do the upper body, and it is simply an oval. But now don't draw the little end section that would go under the head, unless you're doing it in pencil and plan on erasing it later. So that's another extremely simple step. And next, it is a very long oval. It kind of sways over to the right towards the bottom of this oval. And the same thing applies. Don't draw the very top end of it unless you're doing it in pencil and plan on erasing it later. And now that is, other than the wings, the entire body of the dragonfly. This is where I was talking about that it's simplified and stylized, because you don't see the little sections in the bottom part of the body that actual dragonflies have. Okay, if you've got that part done, let's go on and create some wings. And now just to mention, if at any time I'm going too fast, I wish you could just say, "Hey Olivia, slow down," but it doesn't work that way on here. So just hit pause and then draw what it is that you're drawing, and then click play again. Okay, so now onto the wings. If you'll notice, it's kind of the same shape, only different. They are just long ovals, and the same thing applies about the ends that are closest to the body. Don't draw them unless you are doing it in pencil and are going to erase afterwards. And these aren't tilted in any way, but the closer you get to the body, the more narrow they become. And now we'll go on to the next step, which is drawing the lower wings. They're basically the same. They are just elongated ovals, but make them a little smaller than the top wings. When you are done with that, if you look at the next image, you'll see where I have drawn a line on the top edge of all four wings. What that does is it kind of gives that part emphasis because it's a double line. That's why I put them there. But now I guess this is where a lot of the fun could come in. You can hit pause on here and do anything to the wings and the body that you like. You could create patterns, do a Zentangle kind of thing, dots, anything that you like. I have kept it simple. That way it won't take quite as long for us to go through this and to give you the basic shape. Plus, I actually think they look really nice simple. But it's fun to go in and do kind of a doodly Zentangle thing to them. Okay, so next, all I've done as far as decoration goes, if you look at the image, you'll see where I've made some dots close to the body on the wings. They start at the bottom of the wing and go to the top of the wing, and as they go to the top of the wing, they extend out a little bit. The main reason I did that was to add a little depth. That way it might look like those parts of the wings are recessed back just a little bit. It adds a little bit of shadow. Plus, I love dots. Dots are fun, and it looks like a neat little design. Okay, if you have your dots, let's go on. Now, all you need to do is add some antennae to the top of the dragonfly's head. Now, guess what? One drawn dragonfly, and a really cute one. So now we're going to get ready and do one of the really fun parts, which are the dangles. On to the dangles. If you kind of envision what a dragonfly, butterfly, bee, all the little flying insects do, you know, they fly through the breeze, and I guess if they were bigger, they would kind of create their own noticeable little breeze. So I tried to envision some of that when creating the dangle for this dragonfly. And the way I kept envisioning it was kind of like a swirl. So that's why I've created it the way I have. Just thinking about a little swirly moment of a breeze. So you can create them any way you like, the dangles. You could make them go straight down if you like. But for this, I have taken a line and made it go off to the right from the bottom of the dragonfly. That is actually why the bottom part of the body kind of sways over to the right. That way, the line of the dangle seems to flow better. If the bottom part of the body of the dragonfly was straight down, it would look more harsh, and I wanted it to flow smoothly. That's why I did that. Okay, create the first part of your line, which almost looks like, I don't know, say a little less than a third of a circle. Then I stopped and I made a little bead shape. I start again. At first, I was making the bottom part where it goes down and then turns and goes back up. And after the little bead, it's continuing up, but it's starting to go back down. And the reason for that is because it's going into a swirl, which I know it's kind of obvious to see that. After I got just partway through that, if you reference the image, I made two little beads. Okay, so then you go ahead and go down and finish creating your swirl. And you can see the two parts where I gave it depth by adding width, which is very easy to do. You just pick a starting point somewhere on the line that you have previously drawn, start right on top of that line, and then slowly widen it out, and then go back in, narrow it until you hit your original line, and then repeat that again to make two little almost ribbon type lines. And that will give it a little bit of depth. Whimsy also gives you another place if you want to create some doodles on the inside of it. Okay, now on the next dangle, I have gone part way down the first line and I'm continuing the circle. I'm starting, like I just mentioned, part way down the line. I got right on top of my line and then started drawing, going out and up. And I stop just a little way after I get started and make another bead. And I continue on and go up. And unlike the first dangled swirl, instead of going partway up and then going off to the right, I continue going up and then I swirl off to the left with a little tiny swirl. Okay? Now on to the next swirl, or dangle. Dangly swirl. How's that? Go to the left of your first swirl and then kind of basically follow the same line, only as you go further down, go a little further away from that first line. And once again, I stopped pretty close to the body, made a couple of little beads, little circle shapes, and then made a little bitty swirl at the end. And if you notice, I'm kind of staggering the ends of these dangles so they don't all end at the same point. I wanted it to look more varied than that. So I don't have a ruler, didn't have one, so I couldn't tell you. But the one that we just created is close to the body. The next one is a little further than the middle, but around the middle. And then the last one's the farthest one out. And that's on purpose. On to the next. Now there is one more swirl. So go to the right of the first line that you created. And again, follow the basic way your line goes. Now on this one, I stopped partway twice and put some little circular beads in there. And again, kind of staggered it. Didn't go to the same length. I staggered it between the first swirl and the second swirl and put one in between there. I hope this makes sense. All right, on to the next. Now I'm totally changing it up. This is very reminiscent of the very end of the first dangled swirl that we did, where it kind of looks like a ribbon. Okay, so this goes above all of the other ones that we have just created. And if you notice, I did not join it like I did the others to the bottom end of the dragonfly. It's kind of floating free. So create a swirl, and this one really doesn't have much of a line at all. It almost goes straight into the swirl, which is a good size swirl. And then do the part where you make it a little bit wider and then go back into the original line and repeat that. And then you have this ribboned swirl on top, which I think really looks good. It kind of makes a major focal point, I guess because it's pretty much centered. Now we'll go on, and now we're going to add a few embellishments. That's why I didn't join the last dangle that we did, because I wanted to attach an element to it, which again is just another little bead or circle. And then these loopy shapes on top of that. And if you'll notice, the one closest to the body is the longest. Then the next one to the right is a little bit shorter and angled to the right. And then the last one on the right is angled even further to the right and is the smallest. Now you can make them any way you like. I played around with this for a while and almost did kind of the opposite, where the one closest to the body was shortest, and then I went out from there, and that looked good too. You could make them all the same height. You could make them go straight out, not at an angle, and that would look good too. All right, now on to the last piece, which is one more embellishment. This one I did because I wanted to repeat the shape. It's always nice to repeat shapes. It makes your eye travel. Plus, I wanted to add just a tiny bit more balance, so I added it under the bottom left wing. And it's not an exact echo of the first embellishment we did, but it's the same basic shape. And they're opposite each other, but close to each other, so your eye kind of bounces between the two for a moment. And when you are done with that, you're all done drawing the dragonfly. But don't go away, because we're not done yet. I hope you've enjoyed this part. Feel free, if you'd like, to pause and put some more dangles or more designs, and then hit start when you're ready. Let's continue on. I wanted to briefly cover color. I've created a few different versions of this dragonfly with different colors, so I just thought we'd talk about those for a minute. The first one, I did the dragonfly in light colors, yellows, oranges, and then I made the head kind of a pinkish red, and the little antennae are pretty close to that as well. When you make it light, a warm light, it doesn't even really have to be warm, but a lighter, brighter color, it will stand out from the rest, usually. And that's why I did that. And where we made the little line on the inside of the wings, I went ahead and colored those areas in red so it would be bolder and stand out more. And on the swirls, the parts that are kind of like ribbons, I made those a little blue-greenish, probably because that is what I would consider the most common color that people think of when they put a color to a breeze. That's the reason for that. There's actually logic there. And then the beads are just whatever color seemed to strike my fancy. And the embellishments, I did them in lavender because it is a complementary color to the dragonflies. Okay, on to the next one. Now I've totally switched it out and I made a purple dragonfly with little aqua antenna tips and yellow breezy swirls. I like it. I like the purple. I love colors, so that might explain that. The next one, I made the dragonfly a pale blue-green and the little lines at the tops of the wings, kind of a bright green. It doesn't jump out at you because it's somewhat close in color to the body, but there is enough of a contrast that you can see the difference, and it will definitely show you where one wing ends and the other begins. And then on the dangles, I made the little windy dangle swirls a deeper lavender color. And of course the beads, I did them just for fun, whatever color. And now the little embellishments, I thought it might be interesting to see what it would look like to make them the complementary color of the swirls. All right, on to the next one, which is the last one. This one would be the closest to the real dragonfly that I put at the beginning of this video. It was a red color, and this one is a red color with lighter wings. And then the breezy swirls are more of a true blue, well, almost purplish blue, instead of the lighter aqua blue. But I thought that because the other was red, it might be interesting to put something that was a stronger color than the aqua to balance out a little bit more. And that is it. I just thought that you might enjoy seeing this image in different colors to show you that if you play with colors, you'll find one or two that you really like. So after you draw your dragonfly, play with colors and see what strikes your fancy. If you have any questions, please post them below and I'll get back with you. And again, I would really appreciate it if you would hit like if you like this video and hit subscribe and the bell notification to be notified of other videos I post. It would help a lot. Thank you so much. Be safe. Have a wonderful day. Much love, Olivia.